It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef,
And my name is Vania.
and don't feed us after midnight.
Yeah, guys, to be fair, it is midnight, so hopefully, I mean, we're trying to be good. Honestly, I'm already a gremlin myself. I think I consider myself a gremlin already. So I can't promise you that I'm gonna be a little cute little mogwai, so I can't promise you that. So yeah. What about you, Yusuf? You're
I,
you're
I
you're a
was,
good
I was,
mogwai?
I was born like a gremlin.
Yeah.
Like
So that
I was born a gremlin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I feel like I guess you would categorize me into that one female gremlin with like always with the lipstick and the
Was
makeup
it
and just have
Greta?
like little lashes. Yeah, Greta. Yes, that's
Oh
me.
no.
Hi. Hi. So what are we doing today, Yusa?
So today, we're gonna be counting down. This one is an HHN related podcast. We're gonna be counting down our top 10 IP houses from all the years that we've gone through for Horror Nights. Um, this one was actually a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be because like going through the lists of all the years, it's like, man, that one was good. Like that one was really good. I really like that one. So I'm like, it was really hard for me to narrow it down to 10.
Yeah. You
But
would think like maybe from each year because for me I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been going to Halloween Horror Nights since 2009. I've been going there for 11 years, so you would think pick one from each year and I'll be okay, you know. But that's not the case, at least for me. It was kind of a lot harder than I thought. What about you?
yeah, it was definitely hard, because I've been going through Horror Nights since '08, and I had missed 2 years. I did miss 21 and 26, but overall, IP-wise, I did get to experience quite a good amount of the IP houses, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a hard time.
Yeah, I was just going through the list and the one that I'm gonna call out right now. The one that I'm gonna call out right now, I would be caught dead, dead, and I mean dead, guys. Like you putting Walking Dead in my top 10. Just saying, I would be caught dead putting that in my top 10.
Ooh, that was
Yeah,
some strong words.
so I'm just um. The one that I will appreciate is the one that had us like duck down, but after that, I guess it became a problem because not a lot of the guests can duck down. And so yeah, I know that they had a problem with having people who had disabilities go through that one house in The Walking Dead where you had to crouch down and they had all the zombies come at you. But other than that, I think that was the only really cool part about The Walking Dead during the 5 to 6 years that it was there, you know.
Yeah, the whole reign of Walking Dead that we had for a good chunk of time. The only
Mm-hmm.
thing I will say is, like, they were good if you were a fan of the show, but outside of that, they were eh.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you were into the show, the first one it was good. Don't get me wrong. I total respect to The Walking Dead. Because it was a successful show like during its time. Like who would think a lot of people would get into zombie movies, but other than that, like I don't know why they had kept it for so long. I don't know, and Purge kind of started to feel like that as well.
Yeah.
When they started to follow that pattern, I'm like, please don't ruin that movie for
Yeah,
me. I actually really like that movie. Like, please don't ruin it.
like, the second time the Purge showed up, I was like, "Please don't tell me this is gonna be the new Walking Dead."
I mean, it showed up even a third time.
Yeah, and I was like, "Please do not tell me this is gonna be the new Walking Dead. Don't ruin this for me."
Yeah, I think
But
after 28 and 29, it completely stopped.
thankfully, they were like,
Thankfully,
"No, we're done
but
now."
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I needed that. I needed the break.
Yeah, but other than that, so of course, spoiler alert, you're not gonna have us caught dead on either of those. But I mean, I love The Walking Dead and I love The Purge. Just not as something as a repeating house as
Yeah.
an IP for sure. So much respect if it's in your top 10, but unfortunately it's not in mine. I don't think it's in his. So yeah.
So anyway, before we do get into the actual countdowns, we did want to discuss like one quick thing, and that was the new like safety measures, the
Oh
new
yeah.
changes to the safety measures at Universal and some of the other parks as well, and how we think this might affect Horror Nights this year, because these are the new rules from Universal where they said we're no longer doing the 6 foot social distancing. That's going to be cut down to 3 feet. And you no longer have to wear a face covering or mask outside. You only have to wear one if you're going in a line, like for a queue for a ride, or if you're going anywhere indoors. So like if you just go into like a store, you still have to wear your mask.
Yeah. That's what happened when I went to the park not too long ago. But honestly, 3 feet is not a lot. It's the same thing
It really
between
isn't.
as if you had been standing in line in front of someone anyway, like someone you don't know. Like you kind of had that little wiggle room where like you can breathe, but other than that, it's not a huge difference, which is a little concerning, but I do understand. But yeah, but it is a vaccine that is completely preventative against um COVID-19 because the CDC did say that they did release a couple of days before the parks actually announced theirs that you can actually not wear your mask indoors or outdoors anymore. So that's up to you if you're fully vaccinated. But who's to tell you that you are and you are not? It's kind of hard. So we're still taking safety measures, but it's more like we're starting to become normal again. But it's a little weird to
Yeah.
become normal again, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So far, because I went to Disney the other day, like the day that we recorded this. Um, and at this point, the rules were already in effect there, so I was able to walk around the park, not really wearing a mask. There are certain areas of the park that I did decide to wear a mask just because like there were certain outdoor areas that were still really crowded because they were in the middle of their like flower and garden thing at Epcot. Um, but outside of that, indoors, all the mask was always on. I didn't really encounter many issues.
Yeah.
I think my biggest issue, and this is just a personal thing, I can no longer give people the stink eye if they're in my personal space now because now they can just be like, oh, it's 3 feet. I'm like, can you still say 6 feet away from me? You're like all up in my space.
Yeah. It was nice to
I can't
have
give them that
like
look anymore.
yeah, I literally miss being able to actually have that extra breathing room and not
Yeah,
have someone breathe down my neck. Someone being obnoxious. But you know, nothing wrong with that. I mean, like I know that we're trying to go back to the new normal, but that's um 3 feet is not a lot, honestly. It's still as if
yeah,
you had, you know, there's a couple in front of you and you decide to stand like 3 feet away. It feels like you're kind of with them, but you're just giving them their space, you know.
yeah,
Nothing
exactly.
against couples kind of thing, but you know, it's that kind of measure. But yeah, like when I went to Universal, you still had to wear it inside the queue until you get on the ride. Then after you get off the ride, after you had to exit the attraction, then you can take your mask off. So, yeah, so I mean, I don't know how I feel about that because I mean, it's good because at least people are still crowded in the attraction and everybody's like more condensed and the markers are not that big and not that anybody respects the markers anymore, no
Yeah,
offense. But um you know, it's something. And even then, like even with their single riders, like they're not separating the single riders anymore, and you're just with a complete stranger. Like, but you know, I'm hoping that the world is doing their part. Last time I saw statistics, I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe that the statistics is that I think 17% of the world population is vaccinated. So please get vaccinated, please.
yeah. From what I heard, I think Orange County right now just reached the 50% vaccination mark, so
Nice.
it's pretty good. Uh, we can do better though.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to be fully vaccinated and I want to get COVID-19. Thanks.
But I think in terms of HHN in general, I think by that point we will have a higher percentage of people that are vaccinated. So we
Oh,
might,
people want HHN.
yeah,
As I already mentioned to you guys, the um creature feature at Southern Nights was crowded as hell. Like people want HHN to happen, and I'm pretty
yeah,
sure a lot of those people who want HHN to happen have been vaccinated. So go get vaccinated. I want to have an HHN this year, please. Thank you. So
yeah. So depending on how that goes, it is somewhat possible that they might make more or create more leeway in terms of like the safety measures where like sure the social
yeah,
distancing will be there. Maybe you don't have to wear a mask in the houses. Or maybe you do, but there will be no social distancing. Like that might change depending on
yeah.
how, how the situation unfolds. For right now, I think it's gonna be a little bit difficult. I would still keep the 6 foot social distancing, at least for horror nights. 'Cause I
Yeah,
know it can get really, really crowded in there, and of course, there's the people that have a little too much to drink. They can get a little rowdy,
yeah.
and yeah, that could be a little bit of a clash there.
Honestly, my opinion is that I think they're gonna keep the scare actors protecting them with the mask.
Hmm.
And they're gonna make the guests not they're not gonna make because it's ultimately your choice of who's gonna tell you if or not. It's kind of hard to keep track when everybody's conga lining that everybody to keep their mask on, and if they do, I feel like the plexiglasses are gonna come down definitely
Yeah,
this
it's. I
year.
think I definitely think it's entirely possible that the plexiglass will be coming out.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's also not a good thing either for the safety of the actors. But it's only to hopefully think that everybody has done their part, gotten
Yeah,
vaccinated, and
exactly.
auditions already went out. I'm pretty sure they already did the final castings for Universal, but I'm not Universal. But I feel
Not
like a lot of them
I'm not
uh
sure yet. I know of a couple people that did their external auditions that weren't team members. So far, they actually haven't heard anything yet.
yeah.
So I think they're still ongoing right now. So,
I
so if
mean they normally
you, some of you
normally
audition, maybe you haven't heard back. Maybe they're still processing everybody's auditions and such.
yeah. I mean maybe 2 weeks.
Could be.
Uh, because they did the cutoff mark on I think on Mother's Day. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I could be wrong. So don't take my word for it, guys. I
We'll
don't
see.
know.
Hopefully,
We'll
those
see.
of you that have been waiting for a little while get some word out soon, and hopefully you learn whether you did or didn't.
Yep,
But
that
anyway,
makes sense.
yeah.
Anyway, but we
Anyway, back
are gonna
back to
go
our main
into
topic at hand now. Yeah.
yes. So we are gonna go into our top 10 IPs.
Yeah.
Yusuf has his, I have mine. Complete. I mean, they're not complete. They're not super completely different, but it's to trade off on each other, like why we think this is our top 10. Obviously, not arguing back and forth. It's just an honest opinion of what we think.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um.
Yeah. Okay. We're extremely awkward human beings, but let's do this.
Yeah.
So, for my what I did for my top 10 is I kind of ranked them in terms of how close did they follow the IP or how close did they translate the IP into a workable house? How memorable it was and also how scary it was. So a good three things to kind of look into, and that's what I was kind of going into when I was making my top 10. But enough of me talking. My number 10 is from 2022. Yeah, 22, I think.
Yes.
From 2012, it was Alice Cooper's "Welcome to My Nightmare." I honestly loved this house, and I still have a picture on a really, really old phone from like way older than 2012 that has a picture of the facade for that house.
Yeah.
Be- I absolutely loved it. It had like that old timey kind of carnival feel to it, where like instead of going into the clown's mouth, you do go into Alice Cooper's mouth,
Yeah.
and I
I
was like,
really
that's
like that.
really freaking cool.
Mhm.
Granted, I didn't really know that much about Alice Cooper's music at the time. It wasn't like my style of music at the time. Um, so I was like the only thing I knew about him was School's Out. That's about it. My
Yeah.
knowledge. So walking into that, I didn't know really what to expect, and I was scared shitless, to be completely honest with you. Like specifically with the one room that's like a spider's web, and it has the giant spider lady. I was like,
Oh, very cool.
I'm not loving this right now. I don't know how I
Mhm.
feel, but this is fun, but it's also not that fun. I don't like spiders. So, but it was that
Yeah.
I did like
Mhm.
that. I told a pretty consistent story of like it's from what I researched later on. It's a character that shows up in some of his other albums that have like a overarching story, and like you're following the story of that character, and I'm like, that's a pretty cool idea because it does feature like this kid's like night terrors and like the stuff that he deals with, like as a kid around the world and stuff like that. So that
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
For me, it's also Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. Because as an IP, the reason is because it was the first musical IP that they had ever featured. And just like Yusef, I actually didn't know that much about Alice Cooper at the time, but um, I did know a couple of his songs, especially like the one scene that stood out to me the most was like it was like a high school kind of like scene, like cheery, kind of like almost like a bully, kind of like beating up the kid kind of thing. And it was like the song No More Mr. Nice Guy. And it was iconic. And I was like, damn, like I had already known Alice Cooper from like music videos that my dad used to listen to. I think he was the one that also sang Poison as well. Sadly,
Yes.
sadly, that song was not featured in that house, and I'm very, very sad about it. But hopefully in the future, if he comes back, please. But other than that, it was iconic, especially with the synergy that Alice Cooper does have with like the asylum look and being able to tell a story through his music. So it's definitely in my top 10, as in number 10 for me.
Yeah, and when you mentioned that scene, I definitely remember that too, because like it was like the cheerleader wearing like this mask that made it look like an Alice Cooper makeup type thing, and then like the bully with like the Letterman jacket, and they
Was
even made
beating
it
up
look,
some kid,
yeah,
yeah.
and the way that they framed the scene, they made it look like you were under the bleachers almost, like at a football game or
Yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
that was just so cool. So I had never really seen that before in the house, and I haven't really seen anything close to it because it was pretty unique, I think.
Yeah. I wonder how closely they had to work with Alice Cooper to make that house come
Hmm.
true, Like, I know that Universal, Howling Hornets Hollywood had more musical IPs than us for sure, but I think
Yeah.
that's definitely super unique, especially Orlando having it.
Hmm. And I don't think we personally, I know Hollywood's gotten a few more than we have, but we haven't gotten any other music IPs since then, have we?
Did have Rob Zombie.
Well,
But it's an IP in a sense of like it's still an intellectual property, but it was a scare zone rather than a house. We're
true,
more
true. Yeah.
specifying this list of houses. But if it came to other terms, I'm pretty sure that, we would
Then
also
we would
include,
include that in there, yeah.
yeah, but they did have some kind of influence, especially, but technically, House of a Thousand Corpses did uh kind of go into that synergy of Rob Zombie anyway, because I feel like his movies are meant to like showcase some of his music as well. So I
Hmm.
feel like it still like goes in very well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he had a scare zone and a house. Like you can't complain. Like Rob Zombie's a great guy. I feel like I hear a lot of stories that he's nothing but a sweetheart and all that stuff.
Yeah, he
Crazy
seems like
mind, but
one of
yeah.
those guys that you like look at and you're like, damn, that guy probably looks like he eats kids for breakfast or something. But then when you meet him, he's apparently like a big teddy bear or something.
Yeah. So, we agree on one, at least in the
Ding.
top 10. But what is your number 9?
So my number 9 is Insidious. I think this was from 24, 25. I honestly don't remember years. I
25.
just remember houses. So it's 25. Okay.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love the Insidious movies.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're like a modern day version of Poltergeist because it is where like you have to go into this other dimension to pluck somebody out of
Yeah.
in a certain way like that. But I like the movies. I liked how they were acted. The scares were really like effective. And Insidious, The House really captured all three of those movies at the time because it had only been three. Really captured those well.
Yeah.
From the lighting with like the normal lighting at first, then the red lighting when the creatures from like the ghosts from the further would show up in the real world. Like for example, the scene with the baby in the crib and the guy in like the long black coat shows up and like the lights change to red. I was like, that's Insidious in a nutshell. Like that looks perfect. And then of course like the color changes when you go into the further, everything's kind of bluish, greenish, misty. Um and then when you even when you're going into the further, it's like a whole like pitch black hallway, which is
Yeah.
terrifying when you're going into that for the first time. Um And I think like a real big standout for me, I think, was a scene from Insidious 2 when they're
Mm-hmm.
walking. It's like you're almost walking down like a church, and like all across from you are
Oh yeah,
bodies
that
like draped
shit.
in like cloths, and some of them are just mannequins, some of them are actors, and I swear, I know Universal does this. They switch them around, like they'll move the mannequins around and then put the actors some other places. So like for people like us that go multiple times, we forget where they are, or we think we know where they are, and then they pop out of somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that was I loved seeing that.
I feel like that's a strategy a lot of haunts are doing nowadays. Because not other than Busch Gardens, not trying to call you out, Hollow Scream, but the fact that I feel that's really cool that they were able to do that because when I go to Howling Horror Nights, sadly, I didn't start being a frequent Fear Pass holder until like 27. So like I really had to capture the one house once and that's it. That's the only time I went to Howling Horror Nights. And I think that was really cool. I wish I had experienced the changes and not be predictable. I mean now like we're pretty predictable with our frequent fear passes, but yeah. But the fact that I feel like Busch Gardens didn't do that because I don't know if you've ever been to Busch Gardens, like to their Hollow Scream, they have like a house that's kind of like a bayou kind of, and then they have like a couple people like holding up a casket, and some of those people like in between holding the casket are scare actors, but I feel like they switched them around, but I could be wrong. Sorry, a little bit off topic, but I feel like that's what it kind of reminded me of because church pews and funerals and all things horror and gothic, yeah. But yeah, Insidious was, I think the one scene that stood out to me in Insidious was when we were in that living room and you just see that lady, like the one with the black veil and everything, just go
Oh
back to
yeah,
the corner, and then when her trigger would go off, she would come at you like super close and then go back to her spot. I'm like, oh, you can never tell because mind you, scare actors know when to get you. So like
yeah,
they never try to be predictable for sure.
yeah. So what is your number 9, Vanya?
So my number 9, as you guys know, I love Krampus. I love Krampus so much. I literally every time Christmas runs around, it's like, oh, like it's a Christmas horror holiday. Yay, we love that. So for me, my number 9 is Krampus. So the year that Krampus was one of the IPs for Chance's year, I heard that the house had a lot of complications because I heard that the scare actors were getting dehydrated, or there was a lot of injuries in their costumes,
Mm,
and they weren't able to cycle out as fast as they should be or they would be, which I don't blame them because a lot of the costumes in the Universal Studios Krampus movie, they're very heavy, very detailed. So I'm guessing they kind of had to deal with kind of the same weight that the people in the movies had to deal with. So the first time I went, like I feel like I didn't see anything at all. I just kind of saw a couple of the elves here and there. I saw the Krampus on the top of the house, like just lingering kind of thing. And then I just didn't see a lot of action. And I mean, there was the cute scene in the kitchen where you see like little gingerbread men, and you had like the animatronics of them pretending to attack you, but of course they're animatronics. But so the first time it wasn't so pleasurable. But then I remember that for the people that had they had a deal that if you bought a day for HHN, a second day, during Hurricane Matthew, I think it was, they were offering a second day, like kind of like a reimbursement kind of thing. So I went the second day, like close to like the end of HHN, and I was able to see all the scare actors, the elves, Krampus himself, the big worm, like it was just everything that I could ever want from that movie was actually in that house. And I'm like, this is actually super detailed, very close to the movie. I genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those that I didn't really get to experience because I didn't go to 26. Um,
Yeah. You need
I
to.
definitely regret not being able to make it to that 26 because I really wanted to go through so many of the IP houses that year, like Krampus, like Exorcist, and like Texas Chainsaw. So hopefully, at least
Yeah.
one of those comes back. I would definitely like to go through them and experience those.
Yeah. I really hope the Krampus one definitely comes back. I feel like they could do better. I liked it.
Mm.
It's in my top 10, but they could do better, and they could probably do it more justice, especially them making a bold move, like even making a Krampus movie, because there's a lot of Krampus movies out there. Nothing comes close to the one that Universal did. Definitely I applaud them for that for sure.
So this is definitely some wishful thinking on my part, but like, what if at some point Universal was like, "You guys remember the Macy's Day Parade?" And like, fuck that thing. Here's Krampus as a house just for Christmas.
Oh my god. I would lose my crap. You would see me at the front of the line. Everybody's in the front of the line for Beetlejuice. Lies. You will catch me in front of the
You just
front of
like
the
pushing
line of
people out of the way.
Krampus. Literally catch me in the front of the line for Krampus. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah.
And I'm like, that's how I celebrate the holidays at Universal now. I don't need to see no inflatable, so I just go see Krampus.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if you guys seen this is crazy because in one of my Christmas videos, you just see me crying of joy because I was so happy with like I was like, oh my god, everything's so pretty for the holidays. But then if you put me in front of Krampus, that's it. I'm sobbing. I'm dead. My funeral was that day. My funeral was that day. So.
Like you pre-planned your funeral for that day because you know that you were gonna die.
Mhm. I'm like, guys, this is the time of my funeral. Come see me.
Yep. You bring you give somebody a USB. It's like here, put this somewhere, and it's just like a slideshow of like your best moments.
Yeah. All
Just
right.
play this like right after I die, just immediately.
Immediately.
But anyway, we're getting wildly off topic now. So let's go down to my pick for number 8. My pick for number 8 is Resident Evil: Escape from Raccoon City. This is the second video game IP that they did for Horror Nights. Um, and I really, really enjoyed this house. I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil. I love all the games in the series. Catch me on our channel playing Village right now and simping over Lady Dimitrescu because Queen. But anyway, um, yeah, I like it's games that I played growing up as a kid. I probably shouldn't have been playing, but I played anyway. So, once that was announced, I was like, okay, I definitely need to be in this. I need to see what this is. And it didn't disappoint at all. So it took a lot from Resident Evil 2 because that is kind of the most popular game in the series. And it definitely captured a lot of what made that game great, which was the characters, the environments, the creatures, the scares were really good.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, the first thing you see when you walk into that is friggin' Leon Kennedy in his police outfit standing on top of a squad car shooting at zombies. I'm like, I'm in. This is it. This is perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
And
unfortunately was not able to experience the Resident Evil house because it closed by the time I was gonna go in.
mm,
But I'm glad that for the Resident Evil fans, mind you, you guys are gonna call me a heathen. I've never like I have played Resident Evil games. I just never played them fully. Like I think the ones that I played were five because
mm,
there was like a co-op setting on
yeah.
there, and my friend invited me to play it. But other than that, I know nothing of Resident Evil. I should because it's a horror video game, but
I mean,
still
there's
haven't
plenty
been
of,
blessed.
you don't have to play them. You can just go on YouTube and watch like the 3-hour timeline documentaries that people have made because they're extremely
Oh, nice.
detailed.
Dang.
Yeah, but like
A little
outside of that
cheat
too,
sheet.
just like the attention to detail was just so apparent. Like there were certain rooms when you would walk in and you would see like boxes of ammo that were like exactly the ones you find in the game because like handgun bullets were like little red boxes. You're like, okay, I know that's for a handgun. A certain room you would find a typewriter and you're like, oh, that's where you save your game because that's literally you had to go to find a typewriter to save your game. And the creatures, because you had outside of the regular zombies, you had like the special creatures like the lickers, which had like these weird brain things on their heads, the mutant dogs. You had fucking Nemesis show up in this bitch with a
Awesome.
fucking rocket launcher. So you're like, holy shit, this is
Mhm.
awesome. And like he was like super imposing. Obviously, they have him like way above you, kind of like what they did with I think it was Carnival Graveyard, where they had like the clown like off the bungee suit type thing.
Yeah.
It was similar to that, except he wasn't in a bungee suit. Like he was just like pointing down at you and would shoot his rocket launcher at you and stuff. So that was really cool. And yeah, just like how close it took the identity of the game, but it kind of made it its own was like the best part about it for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Guys, I need to get into Resident Evil, please. I feel like I don't appreciate it enough. But yeah. I don't know. I feel so left out with all this. Because I want to play Village, but people say I have to play like I think it's seven or was it five? I forget.
You have to play. Yeah, you. I would definitely recommend you play 7 first
Yeah,
before playing
7
Village.
before
Yeah,
playing 8. So
yeah, because that way the story will make a
I
little bit more sense. Yeah,
yeah. I mean it looks cool though, for sure. I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers play it today, so
yeah,
it was
it's a really
great.
good time. It's really stressful too. Like I was really stressing out like when I was playing it the other day.
Well, if you guys want to see that, just go to our channel on YouTube and you get to see him stress all you want.
And Simp.
Yeah, and simp. And so in my eight, at least my top eight, it is Cabin in the Woods. The reason why is because when this IP particularly came out in HHN, I had actually watched the movie that year. And I thought it was a very interesting concept. The way I described Cabin in the Woods to people was it's a Hunger Games meets horror kind of thing, where like it's kind of like
Hmm.
you like they basically have to like kill each other off, but like trying not to get like caught with like the monsters, that kind of thing. But of course, same concept with 13 Ghosts, which Universal we're still waiting for that.
Yes.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so the thing that stood out to me the most about that house is towards the end when all the creatures escape. It's the ballerina with like the big mouth with
Oh
all the teeth
yeah.
around, and
Yeah.
oh my gosh, she was so good. And it was just so detailed, like literally like from little itty bits of like the little like elevators, like where they come out and all that stuff. It's just like it was amazing. Definitely like Cabin in the Woods is in one of my top 10 because it's memorable because I watched the movie and like I got to experience it. Like I felt like I was actually in the house. Like
Mm. Yeah, for me, the reason it didn't really make it to my top 10, it would have made it in there if I had seen the movie before going into the house. But unfortunately, I hadn't seen the movie. I saw the movie after just to like see how it compared. And I feel like if I had seen the movie before, this house definitely would have been in my top 10.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, but that house was really good.
Yeah,
Um,
extremely detailed.
yeah, like the scene in like the break room with the doctors, like cutting up
Yeah,
people was really creepy. Um, the fucking elevator scene was
yeah.
terrifying.
You see all the blood and guts on the
I
floor.
was
That
like,
that shit was
I,
great. I was like, oh, nice.
I'm actually, no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna admit to this. I stopped the conga line to let the people in front of me go so I could just run through that area because I didn't want to deal with it.
That's
I
that's
was I
funny.
was that kid.
Oh my god. Man, was there any house attendants then? That was in
Well, I
2013, dude.
think in that little section, I don't think they noticed me because it was like right after the house attendant that I did that, so they
Mm,
didn't really notice it.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, now's my chance. Okay,
So moving on.
yes, time for my number 7, um, and that is Freddy versus Jason.
Man, I don't remember that house. I know that it was a year I went to, but I don't remember it for the life of me. I don't know why.
Now, Freddy versus Jason is kind of a weird outlier because it is an IP house, but it's not specifically based on the Freddy versus Jason movie.
Hmm.
It's more of you see a section that's all about Jason, you see a section that's all about Freddy, and then you get both, which I think was really cool because the environments were so different between the two of them. So, because like for the Jason areas, you get Camp Crystal Lake, you get the woods, you get the cabins and that kind of stuff. But then when you move on to Elm Street, literally the first thing you see is the house, like 1428 Elm Street, and then just to the left of that is the two girls on the tightrope or on the jump rope singing, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for
Daddy's
you.
coming for you.
And of course, they would just
Yeah.
stop and then look at you,
Iconic.
and they had no eyes. I'm like, oh, yeah, don't look at me, but also I know you can't see me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man, I remember now that you say that. I was like, damn, I do remember those girls.
yeah.
I probably did see. I did probably did go through the house. I just don't remember a
Mm.
lot of it.
And then, of course, like seeing the iconic Freddy kills, like what my favorite one, and I think a lot of people's favorite one. Welcome to Primetime, bitch. Like that's in there. There's
Oh, that's
also,
awesome.
I think they also had like the one where he has like the needles in his glove instead of the regular knives. I think that one was in there too.
Yeah,
Don't remember.
yeah.
Um,
I, damn, I'm
but
starting to
then
remember as you're like
yeah,
talking about it. I was like, oh shit, I remember. I remember this
bringing me back.
too.
But and then like right after that is where you get like the fight sequences between the two of them, and I thought that was really well made because, obviously it's like the two of them fighting each other, and like, it's just an insane amount of strobe lights, and you're like, okay, I think Jason's winning, but then like you go to the next scene, I'm like, okay, maybe Freddy's winning,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
I like that they left it ambiguous because you're like, okay, now because now it like leaves it up for debate. Like you can talk to your friends, I'm like, oh, Jason totally won. You're like, nah, Freddy won that. You crazy. Um,
Yeah.
In my walkthrough of the house, I'm gonna say Jason won because as I'm walking out of that, I have a reason for it. I'm not because I'm biased. I do have a Jason tattoo, but it's not because of that. It's
Yeah,
because,
it's so easy, but
but it's because
he doesn't
I was
die.
walking out of that house. And I'm talking to my brother because he had gone with me at the time, and I was like, man, that was a really good house. I was really scary. We're going around this corner, and one of the scare actors dressed up as Jason pulls the curtain open and just pops up right in front of me. And I swear I did like a Scooby Doo jump where I almost jumped on my brother.
That's awesome.
So like that's why Jason won for me. And in my opinion, on that specific run through, if I had gotten Freddy, I would have said, oh, Freddy won. But in my case,
Yeah.
I got Jason, so I say Jason won.
Hmm. Yeah, as you talked about it, it was like, damn, like I'm starting to remember things. But like I don't remember like the fight scene. I do remember the girl without the eyes because
Mm.
because that girl's like literally like my height. I'm like, yo, like I could literally stare you down at your faceless mask, and I'm like, what the heck, kind of thing. But but yeah, that's awesome though. I wish I remembered a little bit more about it, but yeah, I might have been a little bit too young, too scared. I probably was closing my eyes the entire time. But yeah, my number seven is I feel like I'm gonna get crap for this. Is Universal Monsters 29.
Okay.
The reason why is because I genuinely enjoy all the Universal monsters. I enjoy their lore. I enjoy like the history that horror practically started. No, well, it didn't practically start with Carl Lemley's Universal Monsters. There was other horror movies before that, but it definitely set a stone in the horror genre. But it's just the fact that we never I feel like this is when Universal really started embracing their horror roots for sure. Like they said, this is where we came from. This is the stories that we have created, and this is our legacy, kind of thing. And they were able to showcase each and every monster in their own unique way. What would have been cool? Well, I feel like they kind of did this. They kind of did it, but not really was when you're walking through the graveyard and all the statues are there of them almost like commemorating like this is our legacy kind of thing, and then you kind of go straight into the movies, you walk into their film, each and every monster's film, but in the beginning it felt black and white even though the lighting was of course blue to represent grave, but it felt kind of black and white. If they had a way to like kind of make the lighting look more grim, like an old style movie, I feel like I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But like I get it. It's stuff that they got to work with. Is like bringing the movies to you. Like this is what they would look like if they had just been out of the movie screen. But for sure, for me, of course, Universal Monsters. My iconic part is the bride. I feel like the bride was kind of tossed into random places to like
Yeah, she
scare
kind of
you. She
was.
was placed randomly. Like I wouldn't expect her to come out of that really weird creek thing. Like she's like so tiny and skinny, and it's like I feel like they just we forgot Bride. Let's put her there, but she was like the most iconic thing, which is why we ended up getting a Bride of Frankenstein Lives house. Like you could thank Universal for that, but yeah, like she has like two scenes, but everybody remembered her the most, at least
Yeah.
for me. So yeah, so I've definitely heard horror stories too, where that house was supposed to win the best house of the year for Universal, and but just because when Dracula messed up, they did not win best house of the year. I think
Oops.
somebody else did. I think it was Stranger Things. I could be wrong. I don't remember.
For
No, it wasn't Stranger
29?
Things. No, for 29.
Wasn't it Graveyard
Uh,
Game?
Graveyard Games. Yeah, Graveyard
Yeah.
Games won it. Yeah,
I mean, it is a really, really close contest between the two of them, though. So,
yeah, for sure. But one
yeah.
of them decided to mess around. But it's fine. We
Which
forgive you,
I
Dracula.
gotta get into that with you later because it
Yeah,
is somewhere in my list as well. Universal Monsters on there. You gotta really tell me more in detail about the whole Dracula thing because I heard some of it. I don't know all the details, but
I
we'll
don't
get to that in a
know a
second.
lot of it. I just know that they weren't on their queue or like they weren't on their toes about it.
Oh.
Like basically, like that they have a trigger that they can set off whenever they want. They just
Mhm.
have to pick their victim, right? But I guess one of them was slacking off too much that they weren't able to impress the people who be able to do these scare acting awards. So
Mhm, gotcha.
I didn't I heard as much as you did. I just know that that particular Dracula just didn't,
Just
make it for the
missed the
thing.
mark.
Like missed the mark, and they could have had that really big party that everybody talks about, the mysterious HHN best house party kind of thing.
One day we will
One day.
get some details on that.
Oh, for sure. I'm very
We will
curious. If
infiltrate
any
that.
scare actors wants to talk to us, and if it's not illegal within your company, just saying.
Yes, that would be fun.
That would be very interesting. But yeah, so we are moving on to our number six. What is
Yes.
yours?
So my number 6 is uh the first house that I did when I went in '09 for Ripped from the Silver Screen, and that was Saw.
All right.
So I know that's kind of a weird choice for my number 6.
I mean, it's not a
Um,
weird choice. It's definitely it's I don't know. Like I have really mixed feelings about the Saw houses. Like they're good, but I feel like they're more showcasing scenes and like traps rather than the movie. You know what I'm saying?
that's how I felt about the last like current version of Saw that we got. It was a little bit more of like a museum showcase. Like it felt like that. 29 like '09 Saw was a little bit different in my opinion. Like it had a little bit more scares to it.
Okay.
Um so outside of it obviously like showcasing all the traps and like definitely getting all the environments right in terms
Hmm.
of like, walking into that bathroom from the first Saw movie, walking through the barbed wire trap. And like obviously, because Universal's Universal, when you walk through that bathroom, they pull a psychoscarapy on us and they make it smell like shit in there.
Mm.
Because Universal's like Universal just loves making you smell shit.
Or anything vile, but you know.
Pretty much, yeah. But
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like even like the way the traps were set up, it made it look pretty realistic as
Hmm.
opposed to like the ones from this like 2 years ago where I don't know, something was just off about them in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like they were stronger in that first time that they did it.
Hmm.
And there's also stuff that was in the original like '09 house that wasn't in the new house. There was two of those. One was the hospital room or like hospital bed scene with Jigsaw. The John Kramer puppet that they had was honestly weirding me out because it looked just like Tobin Bell. To the point
Yeah.
where like me and my friend were like, "Is that actually Tobin Bell? Like, is he like cameoing in this house for a second?" Because it looked just like him. It was really weird. And then the after that, you got your last scene, which is a circular room just filled with pig faces.
Oh
And
yeah.
of course, some of those were mannequins, some of those were real. And with all the strobe lights, they're moving around, they're jumping at you, and I'm like, this is insanity.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's how you end a house.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I walked through that house in '09, obviously not the current one, the thing that I remember the most is that Universal, like they don't do this often, but when they do, I appreciate it. Is when they stick their scare actors in the tightest of places when you would think that there's not a scare actor there.
Yeah.
Especially like with the pig faces, they come in the most tight, like the tightest of corners, the tightest of places, and they're there, you know. I don't know why Universal has currently stopped doing that. I haven't seen them do it in a while, but it's definitely something that they need to bring back for sure.
Yeah. Because it's really effective. Because like, it's like this
You think
extremely
you're
tight
safe?
corner. And you're like, oh, there's no way there's anything in there. And something else pops out. You're like, how the hell did you fit in there?
Yeah.
That's unnatural.
Yeah, I mean that's why when do like auditions they call it like a scare actor boot camp. So I
Yeah.
think that was really cool.
They teach you how to contort your body, apparently.
Apparently. So for my number six is plain and simple. You as much as I like Krampus, I also like Trick or Treat. I am literally like a simp for Sam. Not like that, but like
I
literally like
Before you keep going, I love the fact that as soon as the words trick or treat left your mouth, you said you like immediately your voice just changed. You're like, yeah, I really like trick or treat.
Trick or Treat. Yeah, that's how enthusiastic I am about it. Actually, like literally it's my comfort horror film. Like every time like I'm like sad or like if it's Halloween season and I just want to like cuddle up and just watch movies and like literally with my dog, like Trick or Treat is literally my go-to. Like it's that like you would think when someone says Trick or Treat like it sounds like a kids movie, but then when you watch it,
Yeah,
nothing like that.
you're way wrong.
But, you know, straying away from the movie for a second because we'll leave that for another episode where I can rant all I want. The Trick or Treat House, as much as it was plain and very short, because they did use a good portion of the soundstage for the swamp scene with the kids that drowned, because they wanted to make sure that you felt like you were in a vast space with a lot of fog, which I really appreciated that detail with the sunken bus at the end. That's something that I really loved. That was straight out of the film, so I definitely commemorate that. Another favorite part of that house was when you walk into the werewolf room or the werewolf forest and you see Lori living her best life. She's about to lose her wolf virginity. Not really. She's just trying to eat human right now, and you just see. And they actually use props from the American Werewolf in London house to be able to recreate that scene with her brethren, werewolf sisters kind of thing. So I thought that was really cool. That's kind of like a cameo and like a little homage to American Werewolf in London in that scene. And of course, another of my favorite scene is when you see all the porch, like the little porches and the houses, and then Sam is like in between like curtains, and Sam freaking like throws the curtain at you and then runs away. And it was like, oh, it's everything. Like it's such a like comfort house. It was short, but I definitely appreciate the detail that went into it.
Yeah, length was a little bit of an issue there, but in terms of capturing not just like the way the movie looks, but the way the movie makes you feel,
Yeah.
that like I gotta give major props to Trick or Treat for that.
Mhm.
Because like it definitely like as soon as you walk in and like see the house, I think it was like the old man's house from Trick or Treat, you're like, oh man, like this is gonna be really good.
Yeah.
Like you can
And
just
of
like
course
immediately
the
tell you're like you got that like feeling. You're like, oh man, I feel like I'm just watching Trick or Treat, but I'm in it, you know?
Yeah, and especially the beginning part of the house, which actually appears at the end of the movie, is when the old man is fighting Sam, and it's like a puppet that's like come on, kind of
Yes.
eating at him. Like literally, that puppeteer kills me every time. So, literally amazing, amazing
Yeah.
job.
And not only that, it was also extremely ambitious in terms of using its space to create these big scenes like the porch scenes and like the sunken school bus scene. Like seeing that for the first time, I was like, man, I cannot believe Universal managed to pull this off. Like that's not an easy thing to accomplish.
Yeah, it's just a big bus and literally lots of fog, very muggy, very misty.
Yeah.
You see these kids like their masks are all deteriorated from being like it literally they did such an amazing job. But I
Hmm.
feel like they could have done a little bit more with the last scene, but I honestly can't help but put it in my top 10 because it was just so much in detail. And it still scared me, even though, like, it's a comfort movie, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure that school bus was the same school bus that they use every year. It's got to be.
It's probably the Purge one. It's always
Yeah.
the Purge one that they use every year.
Yeah, I think it's because they built it for the purge. And they were
Yeah.
just like, the school buses can be kind of creepy. Just throw them everywhere. Just put it somewhere. Like every
Well, it
year.
was in the movie though.
Well, yeah, I
So
mean, but like they're just like reusing it. Like they didn't have to make any. They're like, oh, we already have a school bus. We don't need to buy
it
one
was
or
like
build one.
HHN sluts love freaking cameos. They love
Apparently,
cameos from past
the big
years.
cameo that you can get from Horror Nights now is a bus, and I love that.
Hmm.
Like even in Seats of Extinction, they're like it's the same exact bus, but they put plants in
Yeah.
it.
And it's from Purge.
Yep,
Oh my god, Steve's from Extinction. Oh my god.
gotta
If we
find
were
a
to do original houses, like from Scariest Houses.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing that at some point. We're definitely going to be doing our top 10 originals.
Yeah, for sure.
But
All
anyway,
right.
we're moving on. We're actually getting to our top fives now. This is
Yeah,
where
we
we
are.
separate the wheat from the chaff. Not that
Yes.
there's any chaff. This is all wheat.
Yeah.
So my number five, again, kind of a weird, sort of, I guess, would say controversial choice. But my
Yeah.
number five is Alien versus Predator.
I do remember the house. I just don't remember a lot of it.
Okay, so
It's just like why? But no.
So Alien versus Predator, again, it's one of those things where I'm a little bit biased. I love both of those franchises.
Hmm.
Um, although the Alien versus Predator movies themselves were shit shows, I do love both of the characters and like seeing them, being like pit against each other was a dream of mine, and like I finally got to see that.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of capturing the feel of those characters, I think they did a pretty good job in terms of the forested areas that are very reminiscent of the first Predator movie. The derelict spacecraft that's very reminiscent of Aliens, like the scene with like the face huggers in the tanks. Um, and even like the scene, the only thing I wish it had was more Predator. I think it focused a little too much on the alien, but that's just me. I did like that they also added colonial marines because marines are awesome, and I like the sound design. Sound design was the best thing about this house.
Yeah.
It had like the sounds of the predators kind of like crackling like noise when it makes when it's tracking you. The sounds of the machine, like the pulse rifles that the marines were using. Sounds of the aliens when they get shot. I'm like, this is like they were like ripped straight from the franchise. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I gotta give you props for that. And also, I think it's like close to the last scene where they make you duck down and just like walk in this little narrow hallway, and on either side you would get either the predator coming at you or the alien, and like it's kind of a tight space. So it's like about like if you can't really turn, it's a little claustrophobic, and they would just pop out at you like as close as they could possibly be.
Oh man.
So I was like, yeah, that was a
Pre-COVID
really
times, we love that.
yeah, like really effective too. And of course, me being me, I got the alien. And the alien
Nice.
is terrifying to me because I am like I like the design of the predator. I think he's cool looking, but the alien to me is just scary because like there's like barely anything humanoid about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's just you're too weird. And then I also
Yeah.
gotta give a special mention to literally walking into that house for the first time. And the first thing you see is like this like laser sight coming down over the trees, and you're like, oh, that's the predator's like shoulder gun thing. And immediately, just completely unplanned, I start saying, and the guy behind me starts saying this at the same time. We both just start saying, "Get to the chopper," and immediately we're like, "Oh, this is gonna be good."
Nice. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. I don't know, like I feel like the reason why Universal would use Alien a lot is purely because they didn't have the right to use it like fully. But when they did, they made sure that they used it as much as they
They're like, "Yeah, we
could.
gotta milk this cow for as much as we can before they take it away from us."
Yeah, they take it away. I'm like, it would like they're giving us permission to use it. We might as well just milk the fuck out of it, like. And I don't blame them, which is why like I feel like it concentrated more on Alien rather than Predator.
Yeah, probably.
But I don't blame them for doing that. I do remember the house, but very vaguely, because I like the Alien franchises. I just need to pay a little bit more attention to it if there wasn't so much of a slow burn films. But definitely, I would have appreciated it more, especially since I was younger when that house came out.
Hmm. Yes, I think that was for 24, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I do remember though.
Yeah. But
So
anyway, what's your number 5?
my number five is also a controversial topic. It is The Exorcist from Halloween Horror Nights 26. Reason why is because The Exorcist has always been a taboo of mine. When I was younger, I told myself I wasn't going to watch it until much older. And the fact that I have finally watched the movie as of course, a young adult already, and I know the story and everything, so I get really excited. I'm like, man, I get to see like the evil of the evils come to life. And literally, I thought it was really well done, especially the fact that they had like the floating bed scene, Reagan levitating. You see Pazuzu literally coming at you like in different like small holes and creeks, and it was literally like
Ooh.
every 70s child nightmare, and it was fantastic. The one room where it smells like straight green pea vomit and makes you want to gag. it is everything. Of course, there was the scene of Reagan also doing the famous spider walk that everybody likes
Ooh,
to create when they can.
ooh.
Very cool house. The one thing that I will complain about this house is that I wish I get that the meat and bones of this film is Reagan in her possession stage, but it's kind of like Happy Death Day. It's kind of like The Purge, where it's the same scene over and over, just different things that she's doing. You know, I wish I saw a little bit more of like the story aspect of it all, from being a child all the way to like the end of, you know, her being free. But definitely, I think Pazuzu was also like a highlight in that movie because literally, like he scares me, still gives me nightmares, and it was a good house. So I'm a little bit of a fan girl when it comes to that because it's just kind of like, damn, I saw the worst of the worst, but in a house now, you know. And it's
Yeah,
another year that Yusuf unfortunately
unfortunately, yeah.
like missed, you know, because it I mean, I feel like this year had a lot of IPs for sure. But you know,
But at least, like, the way you described it, it sounds like a really, really good house.
yeah.
I also find Pazuzu just terrifying, but also, like, this is just because of the movie, like, when they're doing all, like, the medical tests on her, and they
Yeah.
cut to Pazuzu for, like, not even a second, and you're like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah.
Like, that shit was just terrifying.
It's like a quick cutscenes. The thing about that
Yeah.
movie is that there's quick cutscenes. When I first watched that movie, I literally thought there were glitches in my TV. I was like, "Yo, what was that?" I was like, "Ah, I must have imagined it." But nah, then you watch the movie
Mm-mm.
over and over. I'm like, "Oh, that's an actual thing in the movie. Hi, how are you?" Like, he's terrifying. Like, but the
Yeah.
fact that they included it in the house was definitely like a
That
whole
and, like, the
mood.
spider walk.
Yeah,
Because I
but
think
they didn't have the scare actor do it. It was just the animatronic
mm,
doing it. You
'cause I
know, but
think that I would do the spider walk every once in a while just to fuck with people.
oh
I think I told
yeah,
you about that, right? Yeah?
no.
No, but yeah, I used to mess around with people like that. Like, I would do it in high school to fuck with people. Like, I would just, like, go because I could do it pretty quick. I would just, like, run up to them full speed while doing a spider walk.
Literally has the legs so because of how skinny he is. It just freaking Spider-Man is the
Yeah, it
back.
was terrifying to see this gangly, like, 5'6" kid just running at you full speed while doing a spider walk.
Literally iconic. We love that. Hey, we should petition that Yusuf to do the spider walk on camera.
Oh god, one day I'm sure I will. Um,
You have to now. You have to.
or I spend an entire day at Universal just doing a spider walk. Like, that's the only way I can move around the park.
Oh my gosh,
Be terrifying.
no.
Like, I have to get like the little boots that they get for like service animals, so I don't I don't burn my hands on the concrete.
Oh my gosh. You treating it like it's a whole ass tragedy. Calm down.
I'm just being extra.
Yeah. So now we are moving to our number four.
Yes.
So Yusuf, what is your number four?
Yes, my number four. I think it's a little bit of a fan favorite. It was so nice they had to do it twice, and that's An American Werewolf in London. I absolutely love this house both the times that it showed up for horror nights. Um, I think this is actually the house that I went on the most when it first came out. So I remember going into this house, like, I would literally go into the house, walk out, and immediately go back in line because I loved it that much.
I'm surprised it's
Because
not your number one.
not yet, because there's a couple more that I liked a little bit more. But in terms of like that specific, I mean, like that year specifically, it was really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like in terms of the theming of it, the environment, like walking, like literally the facade is going into the slaughtered lamb, like like the bar at the beginning of the movie, and like hearing like the people having conversations in the bar, and then randomly like the little bits of dialogue of like like the guy's like, oh, what's that over there, like the sign of like the pentagram, I think it was, or like something similar to that. And they like all the audio stops, and the guy's like, oh, you don't talk about that mark, like that kind of stuff. And then, like the big like attack scene where the werewolf attacks the two main characters. Um, the transformation scene, which I like going in, I was like, how the hell are they gonna do the transformation scene? And I was like, it was great. Because you're like going around the room as you're seeing him transform, so you get to see from like a couple different angles, and you're like, man, the makeup team, like the makeup team did a really good job on it.
Yeah.
And then, there's so many great scenes, like fucking movie theater scene.
Yeah.
Where you see like half of them, it's the same thing they did with Insidious, where like half of them were corpses, half of them were real people, and they would switch them around.
Oh, nice.
Just, they love doing that. And then the whole Piccadilly Circus thing at the end, which my whole thing was, you would have the double decker bus, and then just to the left of that, you had the blue like police call box. And I'm a big
Yeah.
nerd for Doctor Who, so I'm like, hey, look, it's the TARDIS. Every single time I walk through that, I'm like, hey, look, it's the TARDIS.
Oh my gosh. Fucking nerd.
Oh, and of course, you walk out of that house, they give you with like the one last wolf scare, and then as you're walking out, you hear Blue Moon. You're like,
Oh
that's how it
man.
ends. Like that's such
Took
a good way
it.
to end it.
Yes.
Like it is. In terms of the scares, they're good. They weren't my favorite scares because some of them I could kind of see coming.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of how well it translated the movie into a house, way, way better than I was expecting it to be.
That's good. For me, I've never experienced. Well, I have experienced American Werewolf in London. I just never watched it until I was much much older, so I never got to really appreciate it for both times that it came back to the event because Universal really likes to milk that cow a lot, but I don't mind it, that because it's iconic and I get it. But during that time I didn't appreciate it for the art that it was, so I just kind of chose to ignore a lot of the details, which I wish I didn't. But yeah, it sounds like it was really good, and I wish I could experience, especially like the werewolf scene. I love werewolf transformations because like werewolves that have to be like my favorite mythical animal. But it's like, damn, like if only I had appreciated that more, for sure.
So just remember that that was actually ET because he was back and he was pissed.
Oh my god. Guys, I learned one thing at the horror show at Universal. Don't ruin that joke for them anymore because mind you,
So yeah,
kids they get annoyed and kids are starting to not know what ET is and it's a little scary now.
yeah.
Um it's it's really sad. Please have your kids watch ET so
So then they
these
can make that joke.
make their joke better because they're tired of hearing grown ass adults be smart asses and say American Werewolf in London and then call us adults with kids with deep voices. That's their favorite thing now to call us. So yeah, don't ruin it for
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
So uh, for me, my number four, it was hard, but I had to put it there is Stranger Things for 2018. The reason why is because the Upside Down, they made it look way scarier than it needed to be. Pitch black, dark with the Demogorgons coming at you. The set design for the lights and the scenes were incredible. I felt like I was in the Stranger Things world for sure. There was 11, there was the Demogorgons, there literally everything about the first house, not the second one. I don't want to talk about the second one. The second one's a little disappointing, but it was definitely like it was an attention to detail in a modern day horror phenomenon. And why the reason why I say that is because normally people don't care because I know that they kind of got Stranger Things to like attract the younger crowd, but it's something that they paid attention extra detail that it doesn't get lost just because it's a newer product, it's not like something old that we know like Jason versus Freddy, Cabin in the Woods. Well, in
Yeah.
the Cabin in the Woods not that old, Exorcist or what have you, but it's definitely a really good take on like modern horror and the fact that they can still make things work for something that has a little bit more advanced technology to it.
Mhm. And not to
So
mention too, like the scare actors that they chose to play the kids, they were
Oh,
spot on. Like that
spot
is
on.
incredible
Scary.
casting.
Yeah, they did a good job. So the people who were 11, like, they freaking killed it. And for Will and Mike, and oh my gosh, like, I'm like,
Yeah,
how do you find tiny adults that look like that?
they're all like
Wow, that is
tiny.
impressive.
They were all tiny doppelgangers.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Literally so impressive. So
Yeah.
definitely Stranger Things is in my number four due to detail of, capturing a series,
Mm,
especially a horror series such as Stranger Things.
yeah,
So now it's
it's
getting
definitely
more risky. Top three, let's
top
go.
three. That's right. So, my top three is a very, very recent house, and that is Universal Monsters from 29.
Yep, and we talked about this one. It was
Yeah.
my seven, but I'm pretty sure he has a pretty good reason for his. So what is yours?
So, my reason for it is, again, attention to detail was really, really good there. It was impressive. The scares were pretty good, in my opinion. I did like that every monster kind of had his own scene, like they weren't all just like kind of smushed together.
Yeah.
Um, especially because the scenes were pretty well made.
Hmm.
Like, you know, love you. The creature from the Black Lagoon. Guess like you were underwater, you're in the lagoon with it. I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember if this was from I think this was from a mix between the Phantom of the Opera and the Hunchback, where you had like
Yeah.
the hall of like the just like a bunch of mirrors, and
Yeah.
he would use those reflections to mess with you. Because you're like, oh, he's right there, but then you pop up like just to the side of you, and you're like, I hate you.
Yeah. I think that's definitely those two. But I think, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I'm not discrediting the house at all. Everything about that house was amazing. Everything. A little bit that felt a little lazy because I feel like they put a little bit more effort into Phantom of the Opera was Hunchback. Hunchback just had a bell,
Hmm.
two scare actors, and we call it a day. I felt so bad. I was like, this
Yeah,
one needs more recognition. Why aren't we talking about why aren't we simping over Quasimodo? Just saying. And like just saying.
just saying, just saying. And
Yeah.
I gotta say, I do remember. I think we did this twice. We did because I remember we went into this together. We
Yeah.
did when we did this. I think we did the same thing in Bride of Frankenstein Lives, where whenever either Frankenstein's monster or the bride would show up, we would both say yes, Queen, and yes, Daddy.
Yeah.
Like we were just like, and we would clap and everything. Like
Yeah.
we were like just so into it,
After we get scared, we clap and we just
and
simp.
then just be like, yes, Queen, yes,
Yes, daddy.
Daddy Frankie.
That, oh no. Okay. New hashtag. Hi guys. No, I'm kidding.
Daddy hashtag Daddy Frankie.
Hi, Daddy Frankie.
Oh my god. And of course, we cannot forget the last scare. The last Frankenstein's monster that shows up right at the end.
Yeah.
That was just
They're
amazing.
humongous, dude. Like,
Yeah.
they do a good job for sure. I really did enjoy that house. But you have every reason for it.
Mhm.
Everything is really good about that house, so it definitely deserves to be in anybody's
Yeah.
top three or even top 10. So
And actually, funny enough, there was this one house. I don't know if you ever got a chance to go into it. I think it was from like 22 or 23. It was a similar type of house where it was all about the Universal monsters. But that one, they specifically made it look like it was a black and white movie all the way through. So like all the costumes were like colored a certain way to make it look like they were all in black and white.
right.
And I'm like, that would have been the perfect house for you.
Yeah, I would like as if I literally am like a sucker for like the whole classic just look of everything of the Universal monsters, like I
Yeah.
mean I don't mind them in color, don't get me wrong. It would be cool to also see like a restoration film
Mhm.
of all the colors and you just see the film in its actual like real glory, which would be super weird but super interesting. But like yeah, so I need to find out because if I went into that house, I would have been pissed. I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me? Just
Yeah,
saying.
and there was that, and not only that, like the final scene was literally all the Universal monsters coming at you like left and right, left and right. So it was like amazing 'cause it was just this hallway where they would just keep popping up at you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
uh,
anyway, let's move on to
yeah.
your number 3 pick.
My number 3. I'm gonna get a lot of hate. I'm like, you guys are gonna be like, how was this scary? How was in this
Okay.
in your top 3? My number 3 is From Dusk Until Dawn or Till Dawn.
Yeah,
Uh
please explain this because I don't really know how it made it to your list at all, honestly, because I'm
so
curious to know how it got there.
I the reason why I don't know. I was still obviously I wasn't of age, so I wasn't under the influence for anybody that's wondering. I had gone with a couple of friends, with my ex-boyfriend at the time, and literally the scare actors were really on top of their shit that day. They were out for blood. They were really
Literally.
out for me. Like it's just the fact that they know I'm the squish middle, and like I just want to hide. And the fact that not only that, but there's just so much cool attention to detail from the film that it was kind of hard to whether to put my face away or to like look at things. It was like I was
Mm.
too scared, but I wanted to look at things because I really like that film as it is. But every time I had attempted to look at things, I just got scared and left the house bawling my eyes out. Bawling my eyes out because I was so terrified. They were out for me. And it's just so it was I know that it's like, sexy, scary vampires. Like obviously like very cannibalistic and whatnot. Obviously not really good looking vampires either, but they were really like on top of like
Mm.
their game that night. And I have so much respect, and it's memorable to me as well too, like it's kind of like if you were to ask me, if you guys remember this later on, I'm gonna laugh, and kudos to you. But that's like saying, why are you scared of Leave It to Cleaver? Like that's it's a meat place, like just butchers. And like all you got to do is run away. Don't buy their meat. Don't do
Yeah.
anything. Like. But here we are afraid of like vampire strippers. So yeah, they were really on
Mm.
top of their game the night I went, the one and only night I went. And I think that's something I'll never forget. It was a funny house. It was a very detailed house, and on top of that, they were really out for my blood that night, quite literally. So
Okay. So now the way you explain it, I can kind of see your reasoning as to why it's that high on your list.
yeah,
For me, I was not a fan of that house. Like, for me, it's also lack of experience. I've never seen the movie. I never saw the TV show that came out as well.
yeah,
So I just didn't really know anything about it. I just remember being like, it's just a cowboy bar with vampires. Like, that's how I
yeah,
saw it. And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I could do without this house.
yeah. I mean, if you know the house, I mean, once start appreciating the movie, then you go into the house, you're like, I want to look, but like those characters were
But they
really
won't,
on
they
top
won't
of
let
their
me.
game.
Like, I
Yeah,
want to
they
look, but
won't
they
let
won't let
me.
me.
And they were just really on top of it. I think I had a friend that year being a scare actor as one of the vampires, so
Mm.
fucking killed it, nailed it, because it was like draping. I mean, you probably remember this house. It was like all these white drapes
Mhm.
all
I do remember
over,
that, yeah.
and all you saw was silhouettes. That's another impressive thing about that house. The silhouettes of the vampires dancing. It just looked so like mesmerizing. I'm like, oh, like they look so nice and pretty, and they're moving, and they're just having a good time. Then all of a sudden, they just rip the curtain. Like, hi, how are you? Like, I'm in your face. How are you gonna do
You
better?
gotta
Like,
pay more to see the rest.
yeah, exactly. So, um, it's definitely up there because of the memorable scares I've gotten from there, and
Okay.
lots of detail, and yeah. So I know it's another controversial topic, but
Yeah,
Might be.
I was surprised by that as your number 3 pick. It's like
Yeah.
I thought most people had kind of forgotten about that house, to be honest with you.
Nah, not for me.
Apparently not you, no.
Mm-mm.
But anyway, we're getting close to the end here. It's time for my number 2 pick. Another very recent house. That is House of a Thousand Corpses.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, House of
That
a
was
Thousand
another movie.
Corpses. House of Another Corpses is up there as one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah,
And
quite adored.
it's as soon as this house got announced, I almost cried because I was like, I'm finally gonna get House of a Thousand Corpses as a house. I've been wanting this literally for years, like for like 5 or 6 years. I was like, when am I gonna get House of a Thousand Corpses? Like Hollywood got it. Why haven't we gotten it? Came out from like back in '03 or something like that.
Blessed.
Yeah. We got it like
Wonder if they just
13 years
swapped it.
later, like 14 years later.
They just swapped the props. Makes
Could
me
be.
wonder if they did. Maybe.
Yeah.
So good.
But
That's
yeah,
so
like
smart.
there was so much about this house that I love. Like from the facade that's like the creepy like Captain Spaulding's gas station to the animatronic clown, quote unquote, that was actually a real person, which scared
Yeah.
me because like he would do his little like movement and every once in a while he would turn his head and look at you. I'm like, don't do that. You're not supposed to be moving. You're a robot.
Yeah. He would either actually come at you and scare you,
Yeah.
or he would just continue doing his thing because he's like, nah, you're not worth it. You're not worth my.
Yeah. But like
I'm pretty sure you know I'm a real person, but go off.
but every once in a while you look at him and you're like, I don't like that he's just standing there. Like I
Yeah.
know, especially because like it's like a weird reverse version of like mechanophobia where I'm like, you're not a mannequin, but I'm so scared of you as if you were a mannequin.
Yeah. It was
Uh,
still a great house, though.
oh yeah, and like, you know, the attention to detail was there. The actors just killed it. Like all the actors were so good in this.
Yeah, I wonder where they found. I mean, not that where they found them, but it's just the fact that they were able to disguise those actors as
Yeah.
all the iconic fireflies, all the iconic victims, just literally everything.
Yeah, like I'm curious as to how the audition process for that went because I'm pretty sure they just like, you know, I had to pull them to the side and you're like, "Hey, you fit like the type for this, like the look of it. We want you to be this character in this house." Like I'm
Yeah,
imagining that's kind of how it went, where they were just kind of typecasting people for it.
yeah.
But yeah, like all the characters were really good. The environments were really good. I was surprised by how good Dr. Satan looked,
Oh my God, he
and that
looks so
whole like
good.
cave system. Like I was like,
Hmm.
that looks really good. Like that could be probably in the movie.
It was too movie accurate. I
Yeah.
definitely gotta commend them for that. That show was lit.
Yeah. Plus, like hearing the soundtrack as you're walking through the house, because like I have a weird love for like the instrumental soundtrack to that house to like that movie itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I love that house like top to bottom.
It definitely scared me. You already know you had enough happy times going through that house with me,
Yeah.
and I just wanted I wanted to literally just cry and just like never again, never again. Then you see my dumbass fucking going again. It's just like,
Which I love the fact that the first time we went on that house is also when they stopped us to like interview us to get quotes for like the TV spots,
oh yeah,
which
and
was
I still
really
have
cool.
those. Yeah,
Which was
that show
so
was
cool.
amazing. Yeah,
Because like yeah, like when they actually like the TV spot came out and they showed your quote, I was like, oh my god, I was there for that.
yeah. Because I think I actually said the right words. Because I
Yeah,
mean it is Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights like is literally the ultimate like Halloween experience because like there's nothing like visiting your haunted houses out of based off of movies and just being able to like experience them all in real life instead of just sitting at home and just experiencing the movies. You can actually experience them through the event. So it's
exactly.
it like I don't know how any horror fanatic has if every time I talk to a horror fanatic about Halloween Horror Nights, they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "You a heathen, go!
Oh.
Like, you need
Yeah.
to go."
Like that is, you got to give Universal like the maximum amount of praise for this because when they take an IP, they do such a good job with it where you're just like I feel like I'm in the universe of this, whatever IP it is. Like I'm just part of this now. Like I'm in it.
Yeah,
Like they make it such an immersive experience and like wow.
yeah. So
Anyway,
it's
we
definitely
gotta
well deserved.
let's stop praising Universal. Let's keep moving here.
Okay.
They already get enough praise from us.
Um, and the whole HHN community. Love y'all. We all have one big family here.
You're all
So
kings,
my
queens,
second
and everything in between.
so my second and in the list is Chucky, Friends Till the End at Halloween Horror Nights 2009, ripped from the silver screen. That was the one and only house that they had for Child's Play, at least to my knowledge. Because you guys do remember that maybe 1 or 2 years ago they did have a Chucky Scare Zone, but they do have like a bunch of fun stuff. But I really did enjoy that, Chucky's Friends Till the End. You felt like you were just in Chucky's world, being able to be in different like toy boxes, Jack in the Boxes, like him fighting against some G.I. Joe looking guys. And it's just like, and then of course, just causing mayhem with like and terror with other families. But like, I was 13 years old when I went through this house, and I was still kind of getting used to getting scared by scare actors because it was my first year. And I remember this one Chucky, he scared me so bad that of course I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I just kind of stared at him, and then he just showed me a peace sign and just kept up on his day. He's like, I'm here, my homie. And he just kept on shooting his little machine gun. I'm like, all right, this is lit. And I was just like, all right, cool. So I will never forget that, Chucky, whoever you were. You literally made that house memorable for me because it just seemed like, like you're there just for a good time. You're there just to give like the guests the ultimate experience and
Hmm.
a good time. And definitely the fact that all the houses seemed like a fun house with all the vibrant colors, kind of like like almost like bright Lego colors. It was really weird. It
Okay.
felt like Toy Story meeting like horror for the first time, except
Hmm.
that you're in Chucky's world. So I don't know if you were able to experience that house in '09.
Unfortunately, back in those days, I would only buy the single day pass as well.
Yeah,
So I just didn't get a chance to get to it. But and also, I was very selective of the houses that I was visiting that year. Because at the time I wasn't a huge fan of Chucky, mostly because I didn't really know anything about him.
yeah,
Like my only exposure to Chucky at the time had been uh, a trailer for Seed of Chucky,
yeah.
which is just like the worst first impression you can make on any person that you want them to be a Chucky fan. And also
Or
just
horror in
seeing,
general.
yeah, or horror in general, yeah. And then also, of course, just seeing like the Chucky and Tiffany dolls at Spencer's.
Oh
That
yeah,
like I just wanted because they looked cool. I had no idea what they were, but I'm like, you look fucking awesome. I want you.
yeah. I was like, I know you're from a movie, but I want you. Just
Yeah.
not a
And
fan
then
of you, but
lo and behold, I did end up getting a life size like to scale Chucky doll.
I need one. I need one.
I got mine from Spirit. It was actually a pretty good price too. I think it was like
Yeah.
100 around there. But like
Oh,
in terms
nice.
of like the level of detail on him, and he even comes in like the good guys box and everything, and like it's amazing.
Oh, that's amazing. I would never take him out. That's
Yeah,
like
I know
asking,
mine is.
like, don't ever be taken out.
Yeah,
Like,
mine is still in the box. The box has never been opened. I'm like, you're staying in there. Like you gotta look your best in there.
oh damn. I wonder what happens when you leave products inside of a house too, inside of a box too long. But that's still cool though.
But yeah.
All right. So we are going to our final.
Oh
This
yes, yes, yes,
was
yes.
tough, 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 tough. And yeah, so you wanna go?
Yeah.
Yes.
My number one pick is it's pretty controversial. Not a lot of people talk about this house. I feel like a lot of people forgot about this house, and that is Welcome to Silent Hill.
Oh man, I remember that house. It was good. I would have put that in my top 10, but like there was just so much that I had to consider, and
Mm.
the reason why is because I am a simp for Pyramid Head. Just saying. But it was an amazing house. Please
Yeah.
tell me more.
Like Silent Hill is I think between it's always between the first and second games. Those are my all-time favorite horror games.
Hmm.
And the moment I walked into that house and you see that sign that says "Welcome to Silent Hill," you see the crashed Jeep, like just like they just ripped it straight out of the game. Like this ash and like the snowy thing just kind of falling from the sky. You're like, this is exactly how they're supposed to make Silent Hill look.
Yeah.
Like Universal just immediately, just as soon as you walk in, you're like, this is gonna be the best. And they got the actors right, they got the monsters right. Because literally the first thing you see is, the cop character, Sybil, shooting one of the monsters, like the ones that just walk, like they don't have any arms.
Yeah.
Like they have that, then like they have the nurses, excuse me. Um and you have I don't know if he's like a monster or more of like a weird just thing. It was this guy, he shows up in the movie that literally has like he's like his back is bent over where his legs are actually touching like the top of his head. Like he's that far bent.
Nice, nice.
And he's just like literally all he does is like crawl towards you. I'm like, don't. That's terrifying.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of scare actors they got to do that, but
Yeah. And then,
that's really cool.
like the sets were really cool because, when you first walk in, it just looks kind of normal, kind of creepy. And then you hear the sirens go off. And
Yeah.
as soon as those sirens go off, the whole set's changed. Like it's all like that industrial, like rusted look that they added. And even like the weird like machine sounds that were like part of the first game soundtrack were there, and they were just so weird and so just off-putting to have there. And then, of course, you get to the big scene with Pyramid Head.
Oh my god.
And I'm
Damn.
pretty sure I'm pretty sure it was an actor on stilts, but this actor got every single thing about Pyramid Head right. From like
Yeah.
he moves, the way he walks, like even when he like goes down to grab you, you're like, that is exactly how it looks like in the games and in the movie. Like this guy just killed it. Like he was like, you are a real life Pyramid Head.
Yeah, the only thing that I do like, I mean, I remember a lot about that house. I remember the nurses and all that, but I do remember staring up at Pyramid Head and just like, wow, like you actually really look like the real thing. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Are you real? Like, I was still very young, so I think I was like 14 at the time. I was like,
Mm.
damn, like that's a tall ass man, but
Not to mention the little Easter eggs that they put all throughout the house where you would find the little pink bloody bunny. Because that shows up in a
yeah.
bunch of the games, and I'm like, ah, look, there he is. I'm like, oh, there he is again. So like that was like an incentive for me to like keep walking through the house like multiple times and just being like, let me see if I can spot all the bunnies this time.
How many did you actually remember finding?
I remember finding, I think it was either 4 or 5. I know one of them was like obvious because it was like right before you get to Pyramid Head, he's a giant like life-size bunny that's just sitting there. The other
Yeah.
was kind of like spread out in like different little areas, and they were just like little Beanie Baby type bunnies.
Um,
But
yeah.
and this is a fun fact, and I'm one of the things again, I'm not ashamed to admit this. This is the first house that I did with my brother because it was his first horror nights. And at the time, I suffered from really, really bad anxiety.
Oh, damn.
And we did a line we did a line for that house. It was like over an hour long. As soon as we walked in, I had as close as I could possibly get to a panic attack, and I was like, I can't do this. And I had him step out of the line with me, and we had to do the line all over again.
My God.
I'm like, I'm so sorry I wasted your time. I'm like, this is like the worst way to start off your Horror Nights adventures with me. me having a
Have
panic
you
attack.
been going to Horror Nights even before that or
I have
no?
been to Horror Nights before, and I did the same thing the year before, for 2020, yeah, or for 2010, yeah,
Oh
with my friend at
damn.
the time. Like we were right there, and I'm like, my anxiety got the best of me. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I was like, you go on ahead. I'll wait for you at the exit.
Oh my God. I mean, now you're better now.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
we're both
I can
better
run right
now.
through them now. No big deal. I can run right through them. No big deal now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But yeah, Silent Hill definitely amazing.
yeah.
I wish I had appreciated it more for sure when it was there. So
Mm.
I didn't know it was based off more of the video games rather than the movies. I grew up on the movies.
Yeah, it took off.
I
It took
never
a little bit of
played.
both.
Yeah. But I'm definitely more on the movie side of Silent Hill, but definitely still iconic either way.
Hmm.
So for my number one, it is Poltergeist, Howling Horror Nights, 2018. Reason why is because I chose it for multiple things. Is because the attention to detail was incredibly like spot on,
Oh
and
yeah.
I felt like I was walking into the film. The facade was absolutely amazing. The rain, how cold it gets. Holy crap. Like I literally was like I this is how I would imagine if I'm walking into a cold presence, in a house kind of like that. And then when you go like into like on the other world and you see like the other characters there and they're reaching down at you before you go into the actual main attraction of the house. Um the clowns, the the attacks, literally just the entire poltergeist experience. The one thing that I loved, and I we got to enjoy it because this was pre-COVID times when
Hmm.
they had like that one room with the really tight sheets,
Oh
and
yeah.
it was narrow. You could
Oh yeah.
not walk. You could not walk, and you were literally almost kissing the scare actors like unintentionally. It was uncomfortably like, and but I feel like that's how it should be. Like
Yeah, it was
like
like comfortable. Like it was uncomfortable enough where it kind of bothered you, but not uncomfortable enough where like it wasn't. It didn't break the illusion of it.
Yeah, so I felt like I was immersed into the world of Poltergeist, and then at the end, of course, the house is clean. So it definitely has a lot of detail, from anything of the scares to the sets, and definitely like a lot of the scares as well.
I think a big standout for me there was also the big like white ghost puppet.
Oh yeah, for
Oh
sure.
man, that was such a good puppet. Or I think it might have actually been a scare actor in stilts. Because I know they
Yeah,
like darkened it on purpose where all you see was just the ghost. So I'm like, I think it was a person on stilts with like puppeteer like pulls and stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, that was a really impressive just scare. And also it that, just walking into the facade was amazing. And of course, on one of those really, really hot, humid days, walking into that house was the best thing in the world.
Yeah, but even if it was like hot and humid, I was still like, oh, it's still cold. Like
Oh no, I was like,
everywhere.
I was like, I'm living for this. Like this could be every house right now.
Yeah, but then knowing everybody's luck at HHN, it's like rainy. And it's,
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, it's either really rainy and really hot, or really rainy or really cold. There's no in
Hmm.
between at HHN for sure.
And not to
But
mention, just walking in and immediately they hit you with that dialogue. It's like you son of a bitch, you only moved the headstones.
oh yeah.
Like you didn't take the bodies, you only moved the headstones.
Basically. So like but I love the movie, I love the house. Mind you that Poltergeist is actually not one of my favorite horror films. I love watching it. It's also like another comfort horror film, but it's just like the attention to detail was so like just attention grabbing that I have to put it
Mhm.
at
Oh,
first.
for sure. It
For
was. It was.
sure. Mhm.
It translated everything from the environments to the creatures just perfectly as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I didn't have so many biased opinions, I think it would have been up there, like higher
It's,
up on my list.
oh, I would have. I mean, for yours, probably mine too. But it's just like it's just the experience and the scares and
Hmm.
the details, and depending on what you like, you just kind of have an opinion on what you like
Yeah,
best and what made
exactly.
it memorable for you.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, that is our top 10 Halloween Horror Nights Orlando IP houses.
yeah. I
We
mean,
had some weird choices in there, but some expected ones.
yeah, some expected ones for sure. But yeah, we're a little weird when it comes to IPs, I guess. It was kind of hard not to toss Ghostbusters because it's also like a comfort house, but other than that, it doesn't
Yeah.
really serve any. Well, it's still good detail for sure, but it wasn't like something that kind of deserves to be up there just
Mhm.
because.
Yeah, but definitely another one of my horrible honorable mentions is Evil Dead from
Oh
23.
yeah.
2013 Evil Dead is outside of The Thing, it's my favorite horror movie remake.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, it was perfect. It captured everything about it, but it was a short house. That was my only problem with that.
Yeah.
But
Kind of
anyway,
like Trick or Treat, but
yeah,
yeah.
but Trick or Treat had like that charm to it. That's why I think Trick or Treat kind of worked a little bit better.
Yeah.
'Cause Trick or
And
Treat
plus
just had
it's
like
an
that
anthology too.
Halloween, yeah, and it just had like that Halloween feel to it. It just makes
Yeah.
you feel all good inside, you know?
Yeah. Doesn't it make us all spooky ghouls feel good inside?
Yeah, but anyway, I think it's time for some quick little housekeeping stuff. So, Vanya, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube under HHN Cultist. I definitely tweet a lot about like Universal updates and of course Halloween Horror Nights related stuff. I also do makeup looks based on horror and Halloween Horror Night. Just anything, makeup, and I also do vlogs and all that kind of good stuff relating to horror, Halloween Horror Nights, and Universal. So yeah, go check me out. So yeah, where can we find you, Yusuf? I know you have like two, well, not two. One of us is ours. But then you have your own stuff that you also do on the side as
Yeah,
well.
my own personal stuff. So right now, I'm only on Twitter and Instagram. And on Twitter, I am on at it be Yusuf, and on Instagram, I'm on Yusuf1220. I'm a little bit overworked right now with like running the podcast and like the other things I have regarding the YouTube channel for sounds. So I'm not really focusing right now on my YouTube stuff, but I'm sure that will come later on. But then our podcast, which is Sounds from the Grave, I'm assuming you know that because you're listening to us. Um, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can listen to our podcast on YouTube as well, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor. And we also just got a new thing going on. I did create an email that is soundsfromthegravepodcast@gmail.com. So if you guys want to talk to us or have any suggestions for us, you can always send us an email as well.
Yeah, we're
So
always willing for new suggestions.
yeah.
And especially if like you're a really big horror fan and if you have something going on in your horror life and you want to guest star on our little podcast, please reach out to us. We love seeing other opinions from the outside other than our dorky selves. But absolutely, like please reach out to us.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like if there's something you're passionate about, do not be afraid to reach out to us. We'll definitely put you in as a guest spot.
Yeah.
We already have one guest lined up. We have potential second guests, so hopefully
Yeah.
that pans out as well. So we have two guests at one point. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that is the end of this podcast episode. I want to thank you guys so much for listening to us and putting up with our craziness for however long this episode is.
Yeah. Pretty sure it's really long because we count down and we
Probably.
kind of like start up on other subjects. But that's why we love about we talk about horror. We never shut up about it. That's
Yeah.
why you're here, right?
Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day or great night whenever you're listening to it, and we will catch you pretty soon.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.